Welcome to Macro Crest, where we focus on fundamentals for directional bias and technicals for our entries. And last week was okay. So this week, let's take a look at what we've got for this week. We've got retail sales. It is happening later today, West African time. Um, we've got the China prime rate, 1 year and 5 year. If you trade the Chinese, that's okay. And then we have this monetary policy reports hearings for the pound, and we have a couple of members speaking, and then we have inflation for Aussie, very important. This is quite important. The price market is pricing in 3.8, 3.7. But if we look at this, what's the previous been like from 3% to 3.8? So if we could have 3.7 and 3.8, that's solid. We'll still be looking at a rate hike. So Aussie is quite strong on the table. We have the BOJ. Remember, the inflation data for last week came out very bad for the yen. And we have the CAD GDP, which the market is pricing in better. And previous core CPI, the market is pricing in lower. Sorry, PPI for the USD. So remember, the USD is actually quite strong due to some information we have. So let me show you. The card is quite strong for me due to this Iran and issues, right? And the euro is quite strong because the Supreme Court uh, stopped Trump from doing what they wanted to do with the tariffs. And then we have the franc is this, the 7 pound is still falling. No, not. This is just a ranking my AI gave me, but the pound is it should be far lower than this now. The USD is not here. It's not number three. Aussie is still number one for me. Aussie is still number one for me. So if we go to the chart, let's take a look at the chart. Let's look at the Dixie. Let's take a look. Okay, what's going on? Let's look at the DXY. All right. What we've got is quite simple. On the daily, right? We are bearish. We are massively bearish. So if you look at the first analysis I did in the first week of February, I talked about price coming to this D1 supply. So I expect price to mitigate that D1 supply before we can look for shorts from the dollar. So potentially we might see dollar strength next week, right? Or are we going to say this is liquidity? This was just liquidity that has mitigated and it might drop? Probably. So what I'm looking out for is the most solid one that looks interesting is the Aussie USD. For one particular reason, the Aussie is the strongest on board regardless. It's the only central bank that we're looking at hiking consistently. So last week, the candle we had, uh, permit me. Alright, sorry about that. So the AUD last week we had this massive bullish momentum candle on the weekly. So it's telling us that we should see some momentum, and this other last week's candle has to be filled, right? So while looking at it, while looking at this is a bullish candle. So like this is a break of structure on the 4 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So okay. Yes. So this was this low. This is this high. So what I expect if there's a more break pullback, then we can long. I think this would look like a better demand area for longs on AU, and I would like GU for one particular reason. If we look at If you look at this, there is a drop here, there is a supply up here. So there's a D1 supply that is supposed to be mitigated before it continues dropping. And price is actually reacting from this weekly daily demand, right? So going to the D1 demand, sorry, the D1 time frame to confirm what we're actually looking at in terms of supply. We have this supply area, so we can short today, and then we are looking at this demand area, we can long here. So it means I should see a push momentum to the upside, and so we can use a confirmation on your 4 hours or your 1 hour to do that. So we might also see a break of this low, then continuation, and then we might see this. So just put that at the back of your mind. And then we've got the gold. Gold looks interesting, and I talked about gold continuing to the upside severally, several times. So I've been saying this last week. Look at this beautiful candle. Grab to this liquidity. So now it's about to break this high. So we would see continuation high, pull back to continue, and that's when you get to look at it on your D1. You would see it a little bit different. So you can see this. So this was liquidity grab, a push. So there's a D1 demand here. If price gets there, you can continue long. If it should break on Monday, it should be a stalling. Break higher on Tuesday, pull back on Wednesday, you can long on Thursday and Fridays. So that's it. And then we've got the pound, AUD, and the pound card, because of looking at pound weakness. Yes, so look at this. Looking at pound weakness, a continuation to the downside on the card. Yeah, card looks interesting because of the oil issue. Now this is a D1 supply, so I expect a pullback again within this. Um, then I can short again. Apart from that, I'm not shorting. So that is the two. Pound Swiss is still a short two for me because of pound weakness, and the Swiss 7. So I expect that there should be some push higher. So this is like liquidity, a push higher for a short, sorry, push higher to this supply for a short down. The euro is still there for some strength, so you can look at euro JPY. And that's all I've got for this week. Oil is still bullish, massively bullish. I talked about that, but I left the position earlier. I left this position. Remember when I talked about this the first week of February? We had this, so you can see it's now done what it has to do. But if you should come here, I'll long it. So let's see and have a good trading week.